You're listening to Podketeers.
Welcome to episode 440 of Podketeers. This week, Andrew and Larry give us their thoughts and provide updates from their recent trips to the parks. We have some cool updates on a creator of a viral video from not that long ago that featured the Spider-Man animatronic at DCA. Magic keys were almost as difficult to get as Taylor Swift tickets. And Disney makes a shocking move to their executive team. I mean, I know you saw the title card already, so I'm pretty sure you know what that change was, but I'm going to keep you guessing till the end of the episode. We'd love for you to join the conversation on our social networks, including Instagram and Facebook, but we invite you to join us over on our Discord server. Joining the community is super simple. Just head on over to podketeers.com/links and click on the Discord button to join the community. A very special thank you goes out to an awesome group of people known as the FGP Squad, our podcast Fairy Godparents, because it's their support via Patreon that help make these episodes of Podketeers possible. As part of the FGP Squad family, you get some additional perks like exclusive discount codes for Podketeers gear, additional content like the Podketeers after show, and access to our happy hour calls, just to name a few. For more information on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, we invite you to check out podketeers.com/FGP. And as always, a super special thank you goes out to the FGP Squad for their continued support. All right, so we're going to get this episode going because it's on the longer side. And if this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome. We hope that you enjoy the episode and that you come back for more. And of course, if you've been hanging with us for a while, welcome back, friends. Here is episode 440 of Podketeers.
That is fine.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a good song to use as an opening piece.
Oh, to get copyright strikes like we always do.
Just at the very beginning, yeah, because I figured that, you have to see how good you are. The better you are at singing and emulating these songs, I mean, who could argue that you're off key when you're getting a copyright strike from singing a song?
Yeah.
Right? It's a really great way to test if you want to be a singer. Emulate someone, and if you sound like them, boom, copyright strike. You did it.
All right, let's see if I can do it. Okay, here we go. One for the money, two for the show, three
and shut down.
Don't you check on That's what he says, right?
That's
Elvis?
exactly what he says. Nailed
That was
it,
like
man.
5 strikes right there.
That was, yeah. I was surprised. So
I thought
many.
you guys would go
Very
with...
small.
That's what I was thinking. Christmas, like it's beginning to look a lot.
Oh yeah, do a buble. Do a buble. Do a bubbly. Come on, Andrew, do a bubbly now.
I don't know. Is that a song he sings? I don't listen to any Michael.
Yeah,
that would be
that's
one.
that's basically, so Michael Bublé's "It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas" is basically like as popular, I think, as Mariah's "All I Want for Christmas Is You." It's like they go hand in hand in the holidays.
I see. Gotcha. Have you seen? I don't know if I bring this up every time I hear about that song. So there's I can't remember the title of the video, but it's "All I Want for Christmas Is You." But then it's like these like cyberpunk goth kids dancing under an overpass to like it's dubbed over, and it's this video and they're doing like all these like arm dances and stuff. And
yeah, that's been used a couple of times.
I don't know if anybody else has seen this. It's one of my favorite videos. I think about it very frequently because it 'tis the season. It's Mariah season, and the song is everywhere, and that video is always on my mind.
Please send it.
Oh, you're right now.
We'll post
I will
it on
send
Discord.
It's my favorite.
Yeah,
we will post
like
it on Discord.
The emo gothic look.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like they're like I think it's like cyberpunk. I think is the like technical. I don't know. I'm probably wrong. It's probably some other facet that I'm getting
Probably like
incorrect.
industrial, but I think you got it.
They're just like dancing in like the LA River, like under an overpass or something.
So good.
Let's see. Oh, it's one I typed in all, and it's like my first search when I type in all. Cyber Goth Christmas Party.
That's it.
There you go.
Cyber Goth.
Wow.
It's good.
So, yeah, I'll send this to you, and we can post it in the Discord, and everybody can see what great video this is from, like, 2011 or something, whatever it was.
It's a classic. That is a
classic video. Anyway, welcome to the Christmas season. Welcome to the holiday season with Mariah and Bublé and Cyberpunks.
Boom.
I guess. I don't know. That's the way to start up this episode.
I guess we'll save the Bublé for the next copyright strike on another
The problem
episode,
is I have
we
to...
got the Elvis one.
I have to listen to Michael Bublé to try to do an impression of him because I can't think of it off the top of my head. Like,
Larry,
I know Larry has seen Michael Bublé in multiple...
You're a huge Bublé fan.
Yeah, big.
Backstage passes, hanging out in the green room with him.
No, wish. And I think they have, what is that, a restraining order on me and my wife. Mostly my wife. But yeah, I've seen him a lot. So that's what my go-to is. That's why I was like, surprised you guys didn't go that route. But you know what's funny? The first Christmas song I ever heard Mike Bublé sing ever live. So he's at a concert and he goes, all right, I'm going to take a request. We watched him the day after Thanksgiving in San Francisco. And he's like, I'll take a request from the crowd. And someone goes, all I want from Christmas, Mariah Carey. And we were like, oh, you asked him to sing. So I got to hear him sing that song live, which was very funny.
Nice.
He messed up 3 times, though. It was really cool. He messed up 3 times. He's like, all right, we got to do this again and again. He told the band, start from the diggy, do the whole beat. It was really good. It was fun.
where it picks up, ba-dum, 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 ba-doom,
Yep,
doom, doom.
exactly.
You know what?
It was like improv on stage.
You know, that's a good song. Like, it's overplayed, but that's a good song, right? Like,
I just thought it was so funny.
good.
All songs
It's
they asked him to
catchy.
sing.
it's so catchy.
that song.
It gets a bad rap during Christmas time because it's like so overplayed in the stores and stuff.
Right.
But it's a good song.
Yeah.
Overplayed at Spirit, right? The
You know
Spirit
what?
Stores.
Well,
Yeah, Spirit Halloween plays all
Spirit
over
Christmas.
You know
we
that
need
would,
to open Spirit Christmas stores.
you know what? We talked about it before. I think it's
Right.
great, a chain of Christmas stores.
Totally. Spirit of Christmas stores.
There we go.
Of
What?
Christmas. Spirit of Christmas. We're not Spirit. We're Spirit of Christmas.
Spirit-
It sounds a
yeah,
lot like
right.
McDowell's and
Right.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Throwback for all y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's just cool to bash on the song by Mariah, but listen, every time I hear it, I could be as sick of it as possible. And yes, I will go on record as saying that when I hear it, it just makes me happy. Like it reminds me of Christmas. Like that is how synonymous it has become with the holiday season. That
For sure.
no matter how much I've heard it, I'm like, all I want for Christmas, booyah. You know,
I mean,
you're just
it's got
all
that
into
piano.
it.
It's that song, and then the TSO Wizards in Winter is
Yes.
another song that is like that's
Good
a
choice.
great Christmas song for me. It's so associated with the Christmas like light shows that people would do on their houses. I've been obsessed with those like since that was like the first one that made it big. It was on like all the news channels and everything. The guy doing that, and just since then it's been in my head. That's such a Christmas song, and now they use it at like the World of Color uses it in their Christmas show and stuff. Like
They do?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
haven't
it's
heard it in World of Color.
in the Christmas World of Color, the newest, not
The one they have for the holidays.
yeah, the holiday World of Color. It's like Goofy comes out and like there's like putting lights up. He's like, okay, here we go, and then like it's like dun dun
yes.
dun 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 dun, and
Oh,
then
wow.
it's like dun 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 dun, and it's like, and then there's a bunch of lasers and fire and stuff because it's cool because it's TSO.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra. If you don't know who I'm talking about,
You-
look them up.
You had to remind me. Sorry,
That's
it's been
okay.
a while since I've seen the Christmas World of Color.
It's been a while. There's another copyright.
This is right.
It's
It's called Season of a Light, World of Color.
There you go.
Season of a Light.
Damn.
We're
You know
supposed
which
to know
one?
this stuff, but it's fine. We'll
We
Google
are.
it. It's fine.
Listen, there's a lot of things that I can explain as to why it's difficult for me to remember, but we're not going to get into that right now because it's Christmas time. Damn it! But you know what other song I'm reminded of every holiday season? The song that John Williams wrote for Home Alone, the Somewhere in My Memory.
Oh yeah.
Because like everywhere, like people always want to use it for like something sentimental, but there's always this like really fine line where it kind of becomes the wah 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 from Peanuts, right?
Yep.
Because it can be totally like a happy song, like somewhere in my memory, Or you can totally scuttle it out. You'd be like, wah, 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 wah.
Copyright strike.
That was
There it is,
perfect.
right there.
Right?
That's it. There's our strike.
Yep.
But either way, like, it straddles like each emotion really, really finely, and I think it could be used for either one. Whereas the Peanuts one, just always sad. So
It's
that's another
always
one
sad.
that I mean, if you make it into a rock song,
The
I think
Peanuts
we
song?
can convert. Yeah, I think if you make it into a rock song,
It's like,
I think we can convert it.
Christmas time is here.
Oh, I would love that.
I don't think we have to make it death metal, but
Work. Eat your Slim Jim. Merry Christmas. For everybody not watching, which is everybody, I was doing a bunch of drum arms.
yeah, Andrew, you became the cream of the crop singing that song today.
There
You
it
ain't
is.
going nowhere. There's a different Macho Man thing this time.
Right? I don't remember if it was Brian or Albert that commented on Discord that apparently they've heard people using that reference on other podcasts as well, and apparently it's just become cool to quote the Macho Man all of a sudden.
Well, I guess
don't know
we're
where it
cool
came
then
from.
because yeah, we like Macho Man.
Right?
Yeah.
And for like, yeah, we're in. So, haha,
Let's see.
there you go.
Ha-
Hey, so I had another quick update. We have a few things that we want to talk about this week, but I did have an update on the Encanto show that we went to recently because my good friend and FGP Squad member Anita posted on Discord. Actually, let me just read her comment because while I search for it here, if you remember when I was talking about it, I thought that they just recorded our show for Disney Plus because they happened to mention the fact that was happening. And here we go. Here's Anita's comment. So she said on Discord, I finished the episode last night and wanted to chime in on the Encanto at the Bowl since we went to see it on Friday. It was indeed a fantastic show and surprised it was only being done twice for all that production work. They also filmed our showing on Friday night, and I imagine they'll make a final edit with the best shots of each to give them a little flexibility on edits. I'm glad to hear that your crowd was a good one. I feel like our crowd was a little bit of a dud. We were the only ones moving or singing in our section, or that I could even remotely see. How is that possible with Carlos Vives literally right there, people? And the dancing donkeys? I don't understand how quiet our crowd was, but whatever. I also think that, Heyzen, you were right. There was a big rat in addition to the huge Bruno puppet. See? I thought I saw the big rats. I almost thought I made it up after I talked about it. So I'm glad that she confirmed it. Let's see, where are we? Bottom of the aisles. As for the app, the second song did in fact have butterflies, but eventually turned into a lit candle, which must have looked super nice from their POV. Just really weird. They thought it was a good idea to flash us with our lights. Agreed. Did they have any noticeable oopses? Again, I don't think there was any like huge noticeable errors. It's just the fact that they sounded a little scratchy because of how cold it was, which again, I really think they're going to do some ADR work and just re-record some stuff in the studio to try to match it up to their performances there. Did they have to restart a number? Oh, so she mentioned that they restarted a number in the middle of doing the show. The scene went on the screen, but the crew wasn't ready to sing it yet, so they had to rewind a bit. Yay, live theater. It wasn't a big deal, but a fun reminder that this was live. Overall, a fantastic show that I hope more people get a chance to see. Was yours opened by Lin-Manuel Miranda? Yes, he was a treat. I fully agree. I think the only person missing from the cast was Leguizamo. Yes, he was not there on Saturday. Lin made a good point, saying that this was the first time the entire cast got a chance to perform these songs together due to making the song during COVID. That was wild. And yes, I agree. However, Lin-Manuel Miranda said that on Saturday, he said, "This is my first time here at the Hollywood Bowl." I guess he meant encompassingly the 2 days was his first time at the Bowl. I took it as Saturday was his first time at the Bowl, and it made me feel kind of special when he said it. And then when Anita wrote that he appeared on Friday as well. I was like, all right, special, but not as special when I thought it was just our night. But whatever. I mean, you got to share, Lynn.
His first Friday, his first Saturday. Boom.
Perfect.
Nice.
I'll go
All
with
right.
that one. I was there for his first Saturday at the bowl. All
There
right.
you go.
So, yeah, super cool. That, of course, is coming to Disney Plus later in December. So keep an eye for that. I can't wait to see what the final edit is going to look like. And, Anita's right. I think they did record it both days so that they have a better chance of getting, better dances and, better angles, better reactions. It's just kind of sad that their audience was not as into it as it seemed that our audience was into it. So we'll see. I'm sure they'll get creative with the editing, and there's going to be a lot of zooming in and maybe some digital phones in there somewhere to make it look like there's more people. Who knows? We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Also, we talked about this creator, man, in the summer. I don't remember exactly when we talked about him, but do y'all remember the video from DCA where Spider-Man was swinging as part of the show and it looked like he slammed into the wall and fell down?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the creator of that video, his name is Alain Bouy. And about a day or so after he posted that video, which went viral, by the way, people were like, oh, look, everybody messes up at Disney and they this. And he eventually just came out and said, guys, this is fake, right? This is just digital effects. It's an animation I made. If you don't believe me, here's the VFX breakdown of how I did it. And, I mean, it looks so real that it went viral, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where he was working before. I couldn't find this information, but there's another creator I've known about him for a while now. I used to watch him on YouTube a lot before he transitioned over to Instagram and TikTok. His name is Zach King. And Zach did a lot of like magical illusions. Like he's an amazing digital artist. He did a lot of magic trick stuff and a lot of like perspective illusions using After Effects. And he has his own studio here in LA. It's like Zach King Studios or King Studios or something like that. Well, Elaine is now a VFX supervisor at King Studios.
Nice.
Right? So, one, Elaine is really one of the greatest examples I can come up with in the recent, past, where if you love what you do, if you show off your work and you put it out into the world, you get noticed for stuff like that, right? And you could tell that he puts a lot of really, like, one, that he's passionate about it, and two, that he puts a lot of work into the stuff that he does. So he's got a job with Zach King Studios. But more importantly, the reason it came onto my radar again is because last week we were talking about how Strange World seemed to not be getting any marketing at all, right?
Right.
Well, earlier today, I saw a video, and thanks Instagram feed for not showing me things in order, because for the first time ever, it actually worked in my favor. I saw a video that he posted where he was at the Disney Studios here in Burbank, walking around with a little blob that he created, he animated, he put into this video of him walking around the studio promoting Strange World.
Nice.
Yeah. I have a couple of thoughts on this now because someone said something interesting this last week that made me kind of, I don't know if I want to fully question what I said last week, but it does give me an additional perspective that I feel like I want to pay more attention to going forward. And it's really going to depend on how well Strange World does. The comment was, Disney does not put money into marketing when they know a movie is going to do well on its own. And like on the surface, that seems to make a lot of sense, right? But when you think about the marketing machine behind, I'll go back to like Endgame, Infinity War. I mean, think of the marketing that's gone into those, and those were extremely popular on their own. They were going to make the money that they were going to make. Think of the money that went into promoting Spider-Man, So I mean, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that comment. Do you think there's any truth to it? Can you think of any examples where it may have been true or not have been true? Like, your thoughts on this comment.
Well, so the first thing, anytime I think of anything to come with or to do with marketing, advertising, is the big blunders of like John Carter and Mars Needs Moms, where like those movies, really the marketing team either didn't know what was going on, didn't understand the thing, didn't market them well, et cetera, et cetera. So that was such a long time ago. I don't remember the like full details of like how the marketing campaigns went out, but I believe those movies suffered from poor marketing. Because I think John Carter, is a decent movie. Is it the best movie? No, but I think it is better than a lot of people make it out to be, and could have started something if, again, it kind of like we talked about with Lightyear as well. Like the marketing is very important in getting people to see these movies. You have to, especially with movies for kids or families, they kind of need to know the basic idea of what these movies are about before they're going to go and watch them, and not just wait for them to go on streaming. The parents are going to want to know what they're getting themselves into. The kids need to know what to get excited about. Seeing the Minions on screen, like, okay, there we got it. Their Minions are in a movie. That's all you need to do marketing wise for the Minions. They've proved that. But that's an established franchise, whereas Strange World or Lightyear, da-da-da-da-da, these are kind of new concepts, new things that people need to know what is going on. So it's interesting to say that they don't put I think they put money into marketing no matter what. It's just how much they do. But I mean, even the biggest like the movies that have made billions of dollars, like The Force Awakens or any of the 3 Star Wars movies, they all were marketed the crap out of, like commercials everywhere, TV, Instagram, big giant posters, da 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 da. And those are some of the biggest movies that exist. The same thing like you're bringing up with the Marvel films as well. Now, things have changed post-pandemic, and the movie industry as a whole, and movie-going experiences all have changed. So it's hard to like have a definitive answer based on only the past, because things and mindsets have changed, and CEOs have changed, and marketing people have changed, and it's all just like, and companies have been bought and companies have been sold, and this and that and the other thing. So it's hard to really bring it down to just one key, like one aspect of they're not spending money on it because they think it's going to do well or not. So it's hard to say now. I've been seeing more marketing for for Strange World in the past couple of days than I have in the past few months. So seems to be a big push. I don't know. Again, there's stuff going on with Twitter and everything too, is another thing where everybody's freezing their funds to spend on Twitter, and is that affecting spending other places as well? There's so many things to think about when it comes to these things that we won't really know, because we're not in the room that these people are making these decisions in.
Yeah, that's true. Lightyear's a really good example, because I remember like when we were talking about it, and we were just like, okay, trying to figure out what this is, what's going on, and even to the point of debating like, are we going to see it in theaters? And that's something that's like, for a Pixar movie, that's not usually the case. It's usually like, what it is, you're going to go see it because you're excited. And we see the movie and we're like, why wasn't this told another way? Like, this was a really cool movie and everyone should see it, right? It's weird to see that they don't have anything much. Like, I think like I said, like I started like in the text, I started seeing things as of late last week, and I was like, "Whoa, hold on! I haven't seen an ad, but you're telling me that." Hey, there are tickets available. And it's like, I don't even know what this movie's about. Just about with the little picture or whatnot. But going back to the comment that you had said, Hazen, I looked at Rotten Tomatoes and I'm not good with scores. I'm not good with what it means or whatever, but right now there's a score of 75 and it seems pretty good. So from what I've like quickly read, it's doesn't look bad. So it's like, well, if the critics are saying, this is a movie that Disney hasn't done, then why aren't we seeing anything to kind of hype it up if it deserves it? Yeah. It's weird. It is so weird, but I do want to see it. I don't have plans for it, which kind of stings because I kind of would love to support it opening weekend, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's not called a flop or a failure because it's not fair to the film. I don't think it is, but we'll see.
I think for me, I'm same like what everyone else is saying is that I didn't really even see an ad for this until a social media popped up on mine for the last week, and like that's including at the park or anywhere else. Like usually there's like when you go to downtown Disney, there's like a little billboard or something when you come on the trams, something like that would show it, but I didn't see anything like that till that I saw it on social media, and then the trailers and the ticket sales. And I think it goes on a lot with what Andrew and what Melissa are saying. If you're just going to ask me though point blank, it does kind of put in the place of how is it operating now, because it just feels that the marketing for these movies that are all Disney related are not as good as something like Marvel or Star Wars, which are still a part of Disney, right? But they're their own productions technically still, where they have their own company that's within the Disney company. So it's like, what happened there that Pixar and Disney Studios movies are not getting the same kind of like really good marketing? Like we always like to, for example, it's not comparing apples to apples, but it's like kind of the same fruit, right? Apples, orange, maybe. We always talk about Marvel trailers, regardless if they're a movie or if they're a show on Disney Plus. Like we're like, these are well done. And Star Wars, what they did about like what Andrew was talking about is like when the rise of Skywalker and A New Hope, all those. I mean, not A New Hope, but the most recent when they introduced the new Star Wars series, the later three, they did really good advertising each time to give you an idea of what you're coming to see. Now, they had background for those, but if you compare it to Marvel, they hardly have background. They don't give you a lot of information about the character they're about to tell. They just give you a little taste of it. So it makes me feel like maybe there's some imbalancement going on, or they're just overwhelmed with how much is coming through Disney Plus and then in theaters still. Like maybe it's so much content that they have a hard time trying to create these marketing strategies, so it just becomes this like jumbled thing, which is unfortunate because, this is how what Andrew talked about. History shows you miss out on some of these good movies, and it's a bummer. Like, just because it just didn't get advertised correctly. I always feel like that's how Tron got treated. I know I'm biased. I'm super biased with Tron. Trust me. It's not like a amazing movie, but it does have like a 75 or what in the beginning from critics. Kind of, it was that same realm, but it didn't do well because it just didn't have really good marketing. Legacy, sorry.
You all bring up, great points. I think it also goes hand in hand with, what we talked about in the last episode, where a lot of the marketing or a lot of the push was to make sure that Wakanda Forever got like the biggest hype, up to a week or two ago when it was first released. And now that it's out, it's breaking all sorts of records. It's been in the top, one or two since it released. Now they can concentrate on something else, which is a shame because Strange World had a trailer at the D23 Expo. Like they had some kind of marketing for it at the D23 Expo. I feel like Elemental is so far away, and I feel like we've heard more about Elemental than we've heard about Strange World in the last 6 months, right? And the other thing that I started thinking about was could this be like a weird backlash to going all the way back to what happened with John Lasseter? Because it feels like a lot of the promotion for animation and a lot of the marketing for animation seemingly halted after everything happened with John Lasseter. And considering that he was in charge of both Pixar and Disney Animation at the time of his departure, it felt like it felt like the studios were almost being punished for the things that came to light about him. And then on top of that, when he went to the new studio that he's with, it seemed to be even less at that point. I don't know if that's a true correlation. That's what it feels like to me. Like if you kind of think back at how much marketing we heard, how much we heard for like Toy Story 4 and everything leading up until his departure, it's a totally different world, right? When it comes to promoting animated films at the Disney studio, which is why we were talking about, Disney needs to get back to its roots. It needs to get back to that creative process, that animation that brought them to the table in the first place. Right, that was the point we tried to make last week. So it's going to be interesting going forward. There was some changes obviously this last week at the studios that we're going to be talking about soon. But it's interesting that now all of you. I mean, this honestly, I still have yet to see any ads, any commercials, I don't even see YouTube ads in between the stuff that I've been watching promoting the film. This video with Elaine walking through the studio with his little animated creature saying that it's an ad for Strange World is the first thing I've seen outside of what I knew about it.
Wow.
Yeah, they do have a little promotional thing at Disneyland too right now next to Buzz Lightyear. In the old Fast Pass thing, they have it's basically what was set up at the expo, the little blob guy and like a big backdrop and stuff you can take photos of.
Just a picture.
Well, they have like that 3D like statue of the blob. The same thing that was at the expo. They have it there at Disneyland right now. And yeah, it's been all over my Instagram now. I don't know if it's because I've searched it a couple of times to like make sure information. It's like, okay, you want to know Strange World? I see Jake Gyllenhaal talking about this, and they're feeling Jello in a bowl, and like, ooh, it's spaghetti, but it's brains or something. Doing all kinds of weird like promotional stuff. And I was looking. Melissa brought up Rotten Tomatoes, and so yeah, right now it has a 75 critic score. Oh, it just went down. It was at 65 audience score, and now it's at 59 audience score. Now this is we're like very, very early on in the game. Like this is day one of when this came out, I believe. Right? Today's the first day. I think today's
tomorrow's the first day.
Okay, so people are somebody's seeing it. I don't know how some of these people are seeing it. It has less than 50 reviews from audience and critics. It has, it's not certified anything yet because all reviews aren't in. It's not even day one.
Yeah, maybe at midnight they're like letting people review. At this point
yeah, it
on
is
Tomatoes.
East Coast.
East
because
Coast
we're recording
midnight.
late. Yeah, East Coast midnight.
Yeah.
And usually they have a 7:00 showing instead of doing the midnight thing if they're
True.
still doing that.
Right.
So that's how some of these
Okay.
people are seeing it. So I guess we'll see in the coming days how this kind of shakes out. I'm sure it's a fine movie. Okay, now it's back up. Now it's up to 65.
Well, we're tracking
again.
it like
Live Rotten Tomatoes check. All right, in New York, we're seeing a 68%. No, I'm just, but it's down to 74% on the critics. So we got another critic review coming in. So anyway, it's very interesting to see these little games and how they all play. But it's not going to stop me. I'm going to see the movie eventually. I don't know if I'm going to get to see it over the holiday or what. I also haven't seen Black Panther yet, so that's on the list. I think it's going to be, but it's going to be a wait and see because of how weird the marketing's been.
Yeah. And if there have been some rumors circulating that the film is positioned to end up on Disney Plus in December. If that's any indication of where this film is going, you won't have to wait very far or go very far from your couch to watch it within the next month if that turns out to be true, which is really sad, honestly. Yeah. But I guess we'll see how it pans out. But
that seems to be their new thing, is just like
but
quick
a month?
to Disney Plus. Yeah, I mean,
a month
depending
is too
on what they
soon.
mean December. I mean, I guess it could be New Year's. It could be, technically
it's still
6
too
weeks.
soon, man.
But I think that's their new thing, is like 6 weeks
It's
in the theaters, and then boom, Disney Plus.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the same thing could be for Black Panther. Like, we don't know.
Nah, dude. Black Panther's not going to be there till like March or April of next year.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, that's the thing, though.
Black Panther's
it's hard
making a
to
lot
tell.
of money in the
It
theaters,
is.
dude.
It is. I agree. But I'm just saying, I don't have the data on. I could look it up, but we don't need to talk about it now. I'll find it later on when the other movies have gone to Disney Plus after their theatrical release.
Oh, that'll be a good one. Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah,
keep going.
I'd be
I'm gonna look it
interested
up.
in hearing those, but I mean, we can just bring it up after. I think we can move on. I think we have a couple of other things
Exactly.
to talk about.
Move on. I'm gonna do some googling.
There's
Google
there's
it.
a few things I want to hear from both of you. I know you've recently been to the park, so I want to hear about your adventures in the parks and how they've been. But before we do, I do want to remind you that this episode of Podketeers is brought to you by a fantastic group of listeners known as the FGP Squad, our podcast Fairy Godparents, because it is their support via Patreon that help make these episodes of Podketeers possible. If you want more information on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, we invite you to go to podketeers.com/FGP for more information. There you will find a list of some of our top contributors. You will also find some information on the FGP Squad and a link to our Patreon if you would like to sign up. Being a part of the FGP Squad family gets you some additional perks like access to our happy hour calls, additional content on Patreon, discount codes, random giveaways, access to a special section on our Discord server, and more. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. You can reach out on Instagram, Facebook. We'd love for you to join our Discord. If you head over to podketeers.com/links, you'll find a link to our Discord, to the FGP Squad, recent episodes, all the good stuff that you need quick access to, podketeers.com/links. But again, if you want to join the FGP Squad, we'd love to have you on board. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. And, of course, to all of the members of the FGP Squad, we just want to send a huge thank you for your continued support.
All right, now it's time for the spin the wheel, all the fun stuff. Here we go. Flip, 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 flip. I hope it lands on $1, Bob. Flip, 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 and it's Nicole. Hey, Nicole, thanks you. Yay, Nicole, FGP member Nicole, out there listening and contributing and all kinds of cool stuff. Everybody's cool. My favorite word, cool. Cooler than Strange World, even though that's probably still a pretty cool movie. Yeah, we appreciate you. You have nice hair. I don't know. I've never met you, Nicole, but how about a compliment?
You have nice hair.
I really like the outfit you're wearing today. Very stylish. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving.
I'm going to go ahead and say we should move on at this point.
And so I'm trying to think of nice things to say because I just always say you're cool, and I feel like I should do nicer things. And
I love the you're cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Cooler than the other. Yeah, but I used that already, and I already did cooler than a bag of potato chips. That like Dr. Evil.
Ice cold.
What's cooler than being cool? You're
Ice
cooler
cold.
than what's that's not Black Eyed Peas. That's
Outcast.
Outcast. Yes,
there you go.
You're cooler than Outcast, and the Black Eyed Peas. Why not?
Wow.
Sure.
Combo.
2 for 1 on that one.
Fergalicious.
Fergie's not
Yeah.
a Black Eyed Peas anymore.
Well, she used to be, so whatever. Fergalicious, something, da 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 Nicole. So anyway,
Great, another
that was a
copyright
ramble.
How we do it, we will.
Thank you, Nicole. You're all right. I don't know.
You went from cool to all right. Nice.
I love it.
I'm bad at this.
All right.
So-
Well,
Don't at me, bro. That was
All right.
not to Nicole. That was to everybody else.
Should did a Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh
version.
yeah, Nicole.
Right?
I think I did that last time.
we
Don't
we
at
did
me,
it
bro.
once. Yeah.
We did it.
Oh no, yeah, like don't at me, bro, and Macho
Oh,
Man.
I
That'd be
see.
good.
For next time.
That wouldn't make you the cream of the crop if you at me, bro.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
All right. Well, I do want to talk about your recent trips to the parks. First of all, I need to ask, how have they been crowd-wise? Because Magic Keys weren't available for a long time. There was a lot of question on whether or not they were going to return. Disney surprised us this last week, and they're like, hey, Magic Keys are all on sale again. And then less than 48 hours later, they were like, sorry, just kidding. They're not. Ha ha. They're not for sale anymore. Sorry that you waited longer than for Taylor Swift tickets.
Oh,
Ha ha. That was not me.
ouch.
I
Double.
swear. I promise it wasn't. Anyway, so the Inspire key was available for $1,600. Believe key was about $1,100, but by 11 a.m., I believe on the first day, it was no longer available. The Enchant key was only available as a renewal for about $700. And I'm rounding up, by the way. These were all 99 numbers, and I'm just rounding up to the nearest dollar. And the Imagine key was $450. The reason I'm asking about the crowds is because a lot of the videos and a lot of the photos that I've seen recently in the parks seemingly have been elbow to elbow. It looks like it's difficult to get around. It looks like wait times are pretty long, considering that there's been scheduling issues, is what I will call them, with getting enough staff working to support the crowds and the attractions and everything that needs to be happening in the parks. How were they? How was your experience? And anything you guys want to talk about? Because I knew there was some new stuff heading to the parks over the last couple of weeks that you were both there. Larry, let's start with you.
Oh, all right. I was gonna say Andrew has fresher eyes than me because he has like a longer break.
That's fine. I
since-
can go. If you want to, I can go. It's fine.
I want your fresh eyes
Okay.
first.
All right.
'Cause I go a bit.
So I was just, I came home yesterday. I spent 4 days in the parks, and each day was increasingly busy. Friday was the easiest, and Monday was like nothing I've ever seen. At multiple times, I would come around the corner and just laugh at how many people there were. It was insane. It was Sunday and Monday, but Monday for sure was the canoes were 30-minute wait. Like
The canoes?
the canoes were a 30-minute
Yikes.
wait.
No
They're
thanks.
normally a 30-second wait.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
they're begging people to come on to ride
Uh-huh.
the canoe. There's a 30-minute
Yeah.
wait. So if that's, I usually gauge by Winnie the Pooh's wait, but that was just a staggering thing. It was also bizarre to see firsthand how a lot of this genie stuff is getting out of hand. So we went Spider-Man, okay? We're going to go just do Stand By and Spider-Man. It was down for a while and came back up and it said 30 minutes. So we got in line, okay, 30 minutes. 30 minutes go by and I can see the door to get in, but we're not there yet. And I started noticing, and other people have said this too, they were letting in one, especially when the lightning lane got long, they would let one group in from standby and then fill the rest of the waiting area with lightning lane. It was
Oh,
so
wow.
the line was just it was one group and then 10 groups from Lightning Lane, one group. And so you would move 5 feet every like 3 minutes or whatever it was, because it was that slow to get in. And the same thing would happen, across the park, and wait times were just exploding because of, I think, how Genie was putting people places. So we, in Tomorrowland, we got in line for Star Tours, and it said, 20-minute wait, and we waited maybe 10. But across the way, Buzz Lightyear was all the way down to the Astro Orbiter for the regular queue, and Lightning Lane was spilling out all the way down through the churro stand. Like, it was like nothing I've ever seen. It's just insane how.
But what day was that? That was probably
that was, I think that was Saturday. It was just so strange to see attractions that should be walk-ons are just, or not even walk-ons, a short wait because they're an Omni-Mover attraction or high-capacity attraction, just be bloated because of how this Genie is kind of placing people in different places and how it's all shaking out. The people have commented on it for Mansion as well. Like the queue for Mansion, during holidays it gets pretty long and it goes through that whole little courtyard with the fountain and everything. But then the Lightning Lane is all the way to the Splash Mountain line. It's
Whoa.
At some points it's insane.
Yeah.
We more than once saw on the app the wait for Millennium Falcon double of what Rise of Resistance was.
Wow.
Rise of Resistance was 75 minutes, and it was Millennium Falcon was 135 minutes. It was just, insane. I don't know how else to put it. That all these attractions that, for no good reason, have this giant line. So it was very busy, increasingly so. If you can help it, don't go on a Monday. It seems to be awful. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday seem to be the day to go, possibly. I don't know. I mean, better than Saturday and Sunday and Monday, but it's really hard to tell now. There's not like a light time, but
yeah.
Other than that, I had a good time. We rode most everything we wanted to. We did spend 4 days there, and so we didn't do any. I don't think we did anything twice, but we went through the mindset of just like, we have a magic key. We'll be back. We're just gonna do what we can do. If the crowds get too bad, we're just gonna take it easy. We'll look through some shops or whatever. So it was nice. It's Christmas time. Christmas decorations are up. The fireworks are canceled both nights. We tried to watch them, so that was fun.
That's a bummer.
It was so windy. Saturday it was very, very windy. So
you didn't even get snoped on.
Oh no, they did the Snope like 8 billion
they did
times.
do that. Okay.
Yeah, they're like, all right, fireworks have been canceled, but as a special treat, we're gonna do the castle lighty ceremony that we do 4 times a night. I was like, just play the fireworks music and do the projections at this point. Like, I wanna hear. Do you remember? Does it still? I can't even remember. Is it the old lady in the beginning, or is it somebody else? The old lady that goes like, "Does your heart hold the magic of the holidays?" That's
as far as I know, it's still there.
Because I know they've changed stuff before. Like Remember Dreams Come True. It was like Julie Andrews, and then they like just changed it out for like random person or whatever.
Well, you don't have to pay royalties to random person.
Random person. It's just like they just pay their like day rate $300.
AI technology.
Yeah.
AI old
Welcome
lady.
to Disneyland. This AI, it gets pretty close sometimes, but there's always one like word you can tell. There'll be something weird about pacing or whatever on some of this AI stuff. But anyway, what else happened on this trip? I'm noticing a lot of shall I say, unrepaired things. Pirates of the Caribbean, I don't know if I saw one mouth move, like, of the pirates. Like, there's how many pirates on there? One mouth maybe moving
Ooh.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad. Half the fire was out in the burning scene. There was just like pirates that had no lights on them. Like it was, and it looks like they're pulling animatronics out for repair. There's places where there's just like, there's a barrel that is where a dog is supposed to be or whatever. Like it's seemingly repairing stuff, but it's really kind of rough. I'm trying to, Small World has been getting a lot of like flack for like the hula dancers being missing and stuff like that. But Indy's always rough. But even I'm trying to remember just everything. Buzz in the queue for Buzz Lightyear, like his voice track was off from his mouth, and
wow.
it was just everywhere. Radiator Springs Racers is pretty rough. Sarge doesn't move, or not Sarge. I'm sorry. What's his friggin' name? The cop car. I can't remember whatever his name.
Hudson.
No,
Doc.
not Doc. No, the cop.
The cop.
I think it's
Oh,
sheriff. I'm assuming it's just sheriff.
Yes.
Anyway, he doesn't move. Normally he'd come out and do all this stuff. We got the side with the Ouija's. You change the tires. The curtain didn't even open up where to show you the tires.
Aw.
And it just goes on and on. I don't want to, just ramble forever, but there was just a lot of stuff that was in disrepair, just stuff that paint has been chipping off and people have been carving their name. Like in the queue for Spider-Man, there's like a painted metal panel that people are etching their names into, and there's
No.
yeah. It's really bizarre to see how, the people that are there are doing what they can, but the budgets and the employments, I'm sure, have been cut, and they're not able to get to everything. They just got to keep it running. But that leads to a bigger question. Is it worth going to Disneyland if stuff's broken? Like, especially for people that are buying a ticket, like don't you expect to, if you're going to Disneyland, the stuff to be working? Like,
to experience everything.
To experience things in the way they're meant to be seen. Rise of Resistance too, there, that goes up and down. I think I've only seen those cannons move back and forth once out of all the times I've ever been on it.
Never seen them move.
Yeah, exactly. I think the first time I was talking to my wife about it, I said, I don't think I've seen a move. She goes, no, the first time we went on it, or the second time we went on it, whatever, one time they were working. All the other times, no. So it's, and one of the elevators was broken in Rise. So they were only running one of the two cars in the section. So that was, increasing the wait times there because you couldn't go up in front of the AT-AT.
And that could have been by design. I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be one of my follow-up questions for both of you, because I've seen a lot of reports. I've seen a lot of people posting about how things just seemingly aren't working throughout the parks, and things just seemingly aren't up to par to what we expect Disney to have them at when it comes to the parks. But, you mentioned earlier about the up and the down times. There was a point where, and in our recent history, where we can remember that there was an off season for Disneyland, right? And so during that off season, they had less cast members working because the crowd levels weren't high enough to have that many cast members. I remember there was always an influx of holiday cast members coming in for part-time work and everything because they knew that it was on season and they were going to have an influx of crowds. So they needed more people, working the attractions, working throughout the park, concessions, whatever the case is. So I'm wondering if a lot of the things that seem to not be working are because they're not working and they don't have the staff to fix them, or is it because they just aren't running them because they can't support the crowd levels running an attraction at full capacity?
It's hard to tell, but stuff like animatronics not working, Like that.
That I mean that's
yeah.
definitely not having somebody to fix it, right?
Yeah,
But-
exactly. Or it's either not having somebody to fix it, or they're it's like, or everybody's been assigned other things or whatever. Their team used to be 10 people, now it's 4, and they're just getting to what they can.
Yeah.
And making sure the Jeep still moves instead of the tunnel still moving. It's like it doesn't
Right.
matter if the tunnel moves if the Jeeps don't move, kind of thing. But at that point, is it worth opening the attraction because the show is not what it should be? And that's kind of like a bigger question. It is. I don't want to say like, is this what Walt intended? Because nobody can know that. Anybody that would know that is dead. And
True.
his name is Walt Disney, and he is dead. So he's the only one that can really say what he would want. But is this what the company and the guidelines kind of set in the past, and how what people expect out of Disney versus another theme park like Six Flags or Universal Studios or Knott's Berry Farm or what have you? Do people expect more from Disney than they do these other places? I know I do. I expect, in the recent past, it was like, okay, these things are going down for refurb frequently. Indy would go down all the time for refurb because it needed it, because it's a old attraction. It was built everything in-house, all brand new stuff that they all built, so it had to be fixed a lot because people are flawed and things break. So, but Indy hasn't gone down. It was supposed to go down for the pandemic for a giant refurb and all this stuff and fix, and that never happened. And it shows, and it shows on a lot of these attractions, and even stuff like Rise, where it's brand new, a few years old, and stuff hasn't worked since opening few months. The hype of, hey, we have all these cool things, but oh yeah, by the way, half of it's broken, or you won't be able to see it because it's dark, and da 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 da. So it's really kind of a conundrum, and kind of it's disappointing to see that the parks that we all love and enjoy going to and want to see do well are in disrepair with no like explanation, and not like that we would get an explanation, but like, oh yeah, well, so this is on this, or we're Splash Mountain, it's going to get a whole overhaul and a whole theme change. So I can understand that kind of falling by the wayside because we're not going to put any money into it because it's going to be gutted or whatever they're going to do. But on the flip side of that shouldn't be the case. It should be running. People are paying to see this, attraction in its, complete working order. That's what they're coming here to see. It's like if you come, you go see a movie, and then halfway through the light bulb on the projector goes out, and then you just hear the audio, and it's like, then you go and you say, hey, something happened. They're like, oh, sorry, that no refund. It's you're paying for an experience and you're not getting the experience, and is that okay, I guess, is the big question. I've been saying the same thing over and over again, so I'll just stop talking there. But it was weighing on my mind when we were going through the parks and just seeing things in disrepair, or the queue for Small World, the outdoor queue. All the lights had like weird cobwebs on them, and stuff was like rusty, and again, it's just stuff that I'm assuming if they had more people and it would not be like this, because it didn't used to be like this.
Yeah. So of all of us on the team, Larry, I think you're the one that's had the most opportunities to frequent the park. You've been going a lot during the week. You know, I think that's when the majority of your visits have been. I can't tell obviously everything that it's been some time since I was there, but how does your experience compare to everything Andrew just talked about?
Well, I think that's why I said I want some fresh eyes on it, because I see it every day. And I think Andrew has nailed what we see in the animatronics, what I could see some of the upkeep in when it regards to like keeping some of the facades, things we used to see that the paint used to be done. He's absolutely right. I've went during the week and usually on the weekend. Saturdays is my consistent day. I usually go back, but I'll switch between Wednesdays and Thursdays. And what Andrew just said, I stay away from Monday, Tuesday, usually a lot, because I know ever since the beginning, that's a non-blackout day for most of the keys that are available. Here's my caveat to what Andrew's experience. He's nailed everything from an AP days to Magic Key Holder. So I had family actually in town this weekend go to the park. A family of 4. My wife's niece technically, but she's older because she has older brothers and sisters, and her son and her sons were with her, and their dad came. So a family of 4. They would say differently because they don't come to the park as much, and they got there at rope drop and they utilized Genie Plus full max out and were done by 9:30 on Saturday. So that was their experiencing, and that's what Andrew's exactly talking about. If Genie Plus is someone not using it, you know, like that doesn't benefit that person, that family. I'd say gave them the advice because of the times I've been there. I was like, get there early and do Genie Plus. That's the only way you're going to get on rides you're going to ride. Now, did they miss certain rides? Yes. And did they have the eyes that Andrew doesn't have? Like when looking at those things? Yeah, they didn't see. I could agree with Andrew on the point that sometimes I get on Pirates and an animatronic one day is not working and then it's working the next day and it's back, but it's not fully operational. But the fire scene hasn't been back for a long time. So those things are there. And I would say the value for someone that repeatedly goes and someone that has the keen eye of what the park was operating with pre-2020 would see those things off the bat. But the kicker is what I just told you. My family that hasn't went to Disneyland since 2013 just went, and they were ecstatic about their experience because they utilized Genie Plus and got the value for Saturday and Sunday when they went Sunday too, because they just utilized it early. So they're on the other side of like, our trip worked out well. And here's another caveat I hate to say. Them releasing the passes changed the game this week. It changed everything because I booked early for Thursday, and I'll tell you what, getting on the tram on a Wednesday and Thursday for the last, I'd say 3 or 4 weeks, I could tell like those days were low reservation days. I could tell the keys were starting to lighten up. I could see it. I was gonna say it's starting to look kind of not too bad. But Saturdays, always, you just never knew. That was kind of like you go into it seeing what's going to happen. I can't say Saturdays or Sundays or anything different. And Mondays and Tuesdays, definitely not, because they were just open to every key. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like Andrew said, Friday, we're starting to look like, whoa. And then that day, when they released the keys, I'm not kidding. I went that Thursday, tram was full, and I heard 80% of the people just listening as I was setting up for my live stream. I got my key. I waited for 6 hours. And it's funny, and it's funny what you bring up, Heyzen. It was either that or Taylor Swift tickets. That was a whole conversation I heard. And people were pumped. They were super pumped. I even got a couple on the live stream at the end was like, we didn't get tickets. We got backed out when the keys went on sale back originally, in 2021. And we didn't get any keys. And they were so psyched to get back in. They went in that day. And there's no blackouts right now. Pretty much, I believe was like still open, but then after this Thanksgiving, it blacks out again. Mm-hmm. So they just ran to the park, and that's unfortunate for people like Andrew that booked out a Veterans Day weekend style, or excuse me, not Veterans
Memorial
Day,
Day.
Memorial or
Thanksgiving.
Well, you had a weekend that just really worked against you.
Whatever weekend it is.
But the points that stick is actually exactly what he's saying. I would go 100% on saying the cast member support in regards to every layer needs more staffing. And I just think they just don't have that. And that's probably why we didn't get a Christmas party this year. I'm thinking 100% why they didn't do, because they would be looking to do those Christmas parties again. They just don't have the right cast member support. And I agree, because there's a lot of them. When I go, I could say this too. You could tell they're brand new. They're just getting into it. They've been trained. They barely got to where their locations are. And you're kind of working through it, you know. And the sad part is you have people that are like either like really hardcore Disney fans that remember what it was before, and that pressure they put on the cast members is unfortunate because they're just trying to learn still about doing the job, you know. And any job, it takes like a year sort of sometimes to feel comfortable in it, right? So it's tough. It is I'm not going to say it's a great look, but it's not a, you know, bad look necessarily. But the bad look is they need to start upgrading these things in the park that we used to see that made it Disney caliber theme park. I'll agree with that for sure.
I did see, Larry, I did see a lot of people getting trained, a lot of cast members getting trained while I was there. Like,
there's a lot of new cast members.
You know, I've seen it before, but I saw it a lot this weekend of the parade of cast members. You ever see that before? It's just like everybody's got a name tag on, and they're all like in a big side by side walking down.
Traditions. Like, there you
go. A little parade of them just going just through the land. They're like, okay, we got to get from here to here backstage, whatever. And then just, you know, I'd talk to people or overhear people getting trained, or, you know, you'd see because there'd be a lead and then somebody actually operating the attraction or whatever. On a lot of rides and a lot of guest control for the fireworks and different things. It was just a lot of
shadowing
of new cast members, which is a good thing. That means they're adding people, but that also probably means that a lot of people have left, or who knows, or they're ramping up for the holidays, like Heyzen was saying. So yeah, but I did see that too. A lot of new cast members.
I can't speak from experience, obviously, because, again, I haven't been there in some time. But there's a lot of comments that seemingly show up on different social networks, just not any in particular. But the theme seems to be that there's a lot of cast members that have left, you know, for various reasons, either because of how they felt they were being treated or because the pace just wasn't there for them because they don't make enough money. And then there's a lot of new cast members that are coming on board that, and this is the bad part, right? That a lot of the cast members that have left and a lot of the cast members that wanted to work for Disney in the past, you know, we've always talked about how the magic of Disney is in the cast members, right? They're the ones that give you that experience. And a lot of the cast members that want to give you that type of experience aren't there anymore. Is it there for a lot of new hires? Yeah, I think so. But I think the percentage of people that in their heart and soul feel like I'm here to make the magic for people the way that we saw for so many years is not the same anymore. And that's a shame because it has led to a lot of people saying, you know, the magic of Disney is gone. That's like the one phrase that I keep seeing people post. I'm optimistic that it's not gone, and I think that there's a lot of things that are going to be happening that are going to correct course for Disney. But I think we're going to be in a place, let's say, a year from now, that is going to seem familiar, but it's still going to be different.
Good point. And I think, magic speaking, there's one thing I was able to grasp onto this weekend, and I'll admit it was a magical moment for me just to try to, I don't know, maybe I know Andrew had some comments about seeing another character in Galaxy's Edge that didn't get as much praise, but he said in our text group. But I got to see Mandalorian and the child, or Grogu, for the first time. And
that's awesome.
I'll tell you what, guys, usually I'm not like, because I saw Werewolf by Night like last time we talked about that, and I hadn't saw the full movie yet, which would have probably given me a little bit more like, I guess I liked it. I was like, well, this is cool. But I'll tell you what, I froze like a kid. And it's on the internet. Like, this is when I was like live streaming, and Rebecca's like, Genie, or Aladdin, your line is, I froze. Because what happened was I was like naturally just running over there because I was trying to get through the park as it was busy, as Andrew mentioned. And it was about noon. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to get over Galaxy's Edge and see my luck, because I had saw on Friday of last week that he was there. And I saw some of the posts online, social media, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to hang out. And I saw the crowd, but I was like, maybe they're waiting for him. But I just got so lucky, magic speaking, when I walked out, he was just coming out the Mandalorian with Grogu. in the sack, and he just like walked all the people there. He's just walking by you, and there's just like, yeah, there's the ones that are trying to get the shots, right? Like with a selfie with them.
Oh yeah.
He walked like right by me, and he's like, I was like, okay, I'm ready to kind of like interact like I do with Chewie or any of the cast member, right? But once I heard the voice, I lost it. I just immediately like just boom,
so
like I just
cool.
shut down, like nothing happened. And it's like words didn't come out, and he's like, I'm scoping out the unit, I'm looking over, and I was just like, and then I heard the baby cuckoo, ooh, Grogu coo,
That is
and
awesome.
then the eyes blink, dude, and I just froze. And Rebecca literally was like, say something. It's like I froze, dude, and I was just so amazed. Like that's an animatronic. That's like a full scale like cast member in there in like the full gear. That's like movie prop status. Like the medal or the mask, you know, the Beskar medal or whatever.
Yeah.
It felt like I was looking at it when he looked at me. It's creepy, dude. It's so weird, but and then I knew it was like that because I saw him turn around and go to a little girl and her dad. And the girl just like was so like in the video you can see she's so amped up. She doesn't even know what to do with like her hands. Like she's just like, cause she sees baby Grogu, right? And she's just like, you could see like she's just so excited. And I'm like, yeah, that's me, but I'm 30 something. But I just froze instead of like not knowing what to do. Like, what do I do with these? What do I do with these? But that was one spot where I felt like, wow, they got me. They really. I've been watching Mandalorian just recently, right? It's not an old Star Wars show. That's a newer one. And I got hooked into it. And that was one moment I was like, okay, this is a little bit of the magic that I had missed. And they got me. I totally was into it. I think it's really worth, at least if you are a Mandalorian fan, to check it out. Because it helps that his voice is like through the, voice maker. So then it feels more real. And then the baby Grogu, I'm not going to lie, dude. You look at it and you're like, I might run out of here and steal that and just never come back.
That's awesome.
We saw Boba Fett and Fennec Shand come out. We were waiting to see. We're like, oh yeah, hopefully Mando's coming out. And we waited, and here comes Boba Fett. Boba Fett came out, and then Boba Fett went back in, but Fennec Shand was still out, and it was funny because we were just sitting there, and they have the little cast member handler with them, and the tourists and people that don't really watch, there's people that don't watch Star Wars, but they're still going to go to Galaxy's Edge and whatever. So we're walking around, and there's the cast member and the actor playing Fennec, walk by a lady, and she asks, this lady asks Fennec, she says, excuse me, do you know where the bathroom is? And the cast member handler was like, are you asking the famed bounty hunter Fennec Shand where the bathroom is? And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. And they just walked away.
Wow.
That's funny.
And I was like, so there are people that don't watch these shows, and so they're just like, yeah, there's somebody dressed funky. Maybe they know where the bathroom is.
Circle back to tourists being there.
Yeah,
right?
tourists
they have
being
a different
tourists
view.
or whatever, or just people that don't, people don't watch everything that exists. There was we rode Rise of Resistance, and there was a mom and her son with us, and she goes, I've never seen the movies. I don't know what's going on. So we kind of gave her a brief rundown. I'm like, okay, they're the bad guys that we got captured, and that's all you really need to know. Okay, that's all you really need to know. We're trying to escape.
Well, I'm glad that experience was great because I saw the videos and I saw the announcement that Mando and the child were coming, to Galaxy's Edge, and I know we've talked about it before that, Galaxy's Edge has its own timeline, it has its own story, and people just want to see Star Wars characters. They want to see Darth Vader, they want to see Luke, they want to see Leia, they want to see Chewie, they want to see characters that they're familiar with. And we talked a little bit about, especially when it first opened, Disney creating their own timeline. They want to introduce these new characters, the new trilogy. They're establishing fans for the future. But if this is Disney trying to correct course on Galaxy's Edge and making it Star Wars land, I don't think anybody's going to complain. I think it's only going to become more and more popular if you start bringing these characters out, because timeline-wise, the Mandalorian does not fit into the timeline of Galaxy's Edge and Batuu. So the fact that they conceded and brought out Mando and Grogu, even Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, with them, they're not part of the timeline that's been established for Galaxy's Edge. So if this is them trying to correct course, this is a really great first step. I'm excited to see what's to come. My wife and kids recently went and they took their new magic bands and they were doing the bounty, the new thing that you can do at Galaxy's Edge. And the kids were just telling me how much fun they had, like going around collecting the bounties and stuff. And it sounds super cool. You know, so again, if this is them trying to correct course by bringing out these new characters and these new experiences, this is a really great first start. I'm excited to see what else comes to the land.
Take a, cue from Avengers Campus. They're like, yeah, all right, here's Chris Evans, Captain America. Oh, and here's, what's his face, Captain America? I can't remember.
Zombie Cap.
No.
Oh, you're talking about the Falcon?
Yeah, Falcon into Anthony. What?
Sam Wilson's Captain America.
Yeah,
Sam Wilson.
Yeah, I try to remember the actor's name. But anyway, Anthony Mackie. There we go. I got it. I pulled it out. Yeah. So they're just like they show up like in the same time of day. And here's different iterations of Black Panther. And here's Iron Man is supposed to be dead, but here he is, or whatever. Yeah. There's no timeline. This is just like whatever, anything goes. Like, here's the werewolf guy, but that takes place in the 60s or the 80s or whatever it was. I don't remember, but just do that. That's all. Anything goes.
Can I just make a quick comment about that though? Because I'm all for them bringing characters out to Avengers Campus and everything. They've had this really good track record of bringing out Wanda and Loki, and especially when Loki was out, like every week that a new Loki was introduced, that new Loki was in the park, right? They did a really great job. Mm-hmm. But come on, man, you ruined Black Panther. You told us who the new Black Panther was like day of the movie release.
Like that morning, they're like, "Here's a picture."
That morning, exactly. Like for people that hadn't watched the film, you ruined it because even if you don't say the name, if you recognize the voice from the first movie, you know who the new Black Panther is. So anyway, rant over. I had to get that out because that kind of burned a little bit. That it was Disney themselves who ruined it. But
luckily,
whatever.
You don't have to worry about that about Star Wars. I think most of the characters are introduced already. So,
right.
Good point.
If they just, if just Darth Vader showed up, like it wouldn't be a big surprise. It would,
it
would
be
Vader.
awesome.
Yeah, it's just okay. Darth Vader and Kylo Ren at the same time, like it's fine.
And Anakin.
Yeah.
And Anakin. And then they all dance to Gangnam Style or something. I don't know. Like do whatever.
That's gonna happen.
They did that at Hollywood Studios. They
could do it here.
Just do it. Like it's funny. Like Darth Vader dancing to Smooth Criminal is funny.
Yeah.
Annie, are you okay?
Well, I guess that's a really great place to end this episode. I mean, there was no other news to talk about this week.
I think that's
if you have any thoughts, comments on anything.
Oh, wait, what?
There was something. Right.
Something tiny happened.
What?
Something tiny.
Churro
right?
flavor?
Just little. Just a churro flavor.
Little.
Now it comes in cucumber flavor.
Woo!
Honey lemon.
Honey lemon, just like a cough drop. So late Sunday, news broke that the Disney company was making a huge executive shift when we got news that, and I'm using quotes for this, Bob Chapek was stepping down as the CEO of the Disney company, and that Bob Iger was coming back on board to run the company for 2 years.
Effective immediately.
Effective immediately. Yeah. That was a huge surprise. Social media went absolutely bananas. Cuckoo bananas, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah.
It did break the internet. There was a lot of, Christmas came early comments. It's about time comments. It was the Disney cheer heard around the world, I think.
Yes.
Because there
pretty
have
much.
been many people that have been talking about this needing to happen. There was petitions going around for months, asking for Bob Chapek to be removed as the CEO. And this was a really confusing move, obviously, because, earlier this year, the Disney company had been reporting record-breaking revenue when it came to the parks. And because of that, Bob Chapek had his contract extended for an additional 3 years. This was in June, July maybe. It wasn't that long ago. So the fact that we went from July having his contract extended to, now at the end of Q4, we recently had an earnings call, and there was a lot of talk about how Disney Plus just really didn't meet the expectations when it came to the revenue they were expecting. They don't expect to hit the subscriptions that they were looking for. They were looking to hit by 2024. Disney Plus has lost about $1.5 billion in the fourth quarter, bringing the total loss to about $8 billion. And in fiscal 2023, they're expected to lose an estimated $3 billion on top of everything that they've lost already. When you think about where Disney Plus is, what's been happening in the parks, it's pretty clear the increases in the parks were being done to try to offset the losses of Disney Plus, right? And
I think it was specifically said that that's what I think Chapek had come out and specifically said that that's what they were doing.
Right.
So this is what we're doing.
It's much more clear for people that were wondering why it was happening. This is the reason why. So, it puts a lot of things up in the air now that Bob Iger is coming back to the helm of the Disney company, because, when Bob Iger first came on board, he's always been the type of person that's very creative. He believes in the people that are creating the products. So he let people run their divisions the way that they needed to be run, which is why, Pixar was flourishing, Star Wars was seemingly doing okay, although there's a lot of people that would complain about Kathleen Kennedy as well. Marvel, was kind of left to its own, and look where Kevin Feige took it. So when Bob Iger left, there was a restructuring of the company, and the company became what a lot of insiders were calling a company within a company, because there was this weird roll-up that happened to Bob Chapek, unlike when Bob Iger was there. I want to talk about what we want to see, what we expect to see, and how soon you think it'll happen. But before we get into all of that, your reactions. Is this one of those, you'll always remember the day when they announced Bob Chapek got fired sort of situations?
Kind of. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this or heard anything like this. I was trying to think. I'm like, has there been anybody who's just been fired? I mean, a CEO who has been fired in our lifetimes. So I'm like, no. So this is... we've never seen anything like this. We've seen drastic stuff within the company. So to know that Chapek was going to be with us for another 3 years, and like you said, it was just recently in July, this was a shock. It was I guess you would say, the biggest achievement in Disney universe right now. It flew. You heard it everywhere. Everyone heard it. But at the same time, it was kind of like, there's hope. There's hope, for the company, because things were not looking good. I did cheer. So, yeah, I was one of those people who cheered, because the first people I thought of were the cast members. I don't even know how they feel. I don't know how they felt. We heard, you saw things on social media, but to be a cast member that came back who's been, I don't know how hard it's been. It's been hard, but I don't know how hard. And to me, I'm like, how are they feeling? How happy? I don't know. It was just a lot of emotions that I thought too. Weird. Excitement, but then you felt really you felt for everybody who's been working under, under him for the past 3 years, or going on 3 years, excuse me. So yeah, I don't know what to expect. I don't. But it kind of feels like there's hope. Or you see like that little tiny light again, like it's there. Like at first it was there, we were happy that the park's open. And then it kind of went down a little bit, got a little dark a little bit. And then it's like, whoop, it's back. So we
Yeah.
have that little candle right there.
Yeah, it's I was in Disneyland
You were in
when
the
it happened.
park.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I was.
I had to hear about
I
this.
was there. We were waiting for fireworks that didn't end up happening. And then I get the text, and it was funny because my wife was in the bathroom or was headed to the bathroom or no, I was headed to the bathroom. That's what it was. Somebody was going to the bathroom. I was headed to the bathroom. I got a text from you, and then you guys, and I got a text from her. She's like, "Look at your phone now." And so so I was in the parks, and then it was the same night as the live Elton John thing that was going on Disney Plus. So we watched that a little bit while we were at the parks waiting for fireworks. So I think those two things will be tied in my memory for forever, I think. But yeah, like you're saying, Melissa, it's hard to, say if this is something we've seen before, like CEOs and stuff, because there's so many companies that exist that aren't really in the public eye that I'm sure, CEOs come and go, but it's not very often that I think they are in the middle of the night, but like, okay, by the way, you're fired. We already got a new guy lined up. And
Oh, by the way, he's not really new.
yeah, we got somebody. By the way,
Oh, by the way,
Jay Leno's back. And that's,
Total Jay Leno move. Yeah.
But a lot of people were comparing it Jay Leno Conan thing that happened, but it's kind of a different situation where Jay Leno was vying for his job back. He regretted leaving. That whole Jay Leno thing we can go on. Bob Iger kind of, it seems like, was just kind of sitting doing his own thing, and they begged him to come back, sort of deal. We don't really know all the exact terms on what's been seen. There's been a lot of reports on different executives starting a coup against Chapek, and everybody's kind of had Bob Iger's ear and complaining to him, and the board's doing this and yada yada yada. Supposedly Chapek was supposed to go and introduce Elton John at that thing, and then got the email and left basically like minutes before he was supposed to introduce Elton John. I don't know if this is true or not. There's lots of reports, so it's an interesting situation to be in. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't think, in all reality, that a lot of stuff is going to happen that affects us as park goers or people that watch Disney Plus or whatever. I think this is more purely a hey, you done messed up, Ron. You put the wrong guy in the seat. Come back and fix it. So Bob Iger has the task of installing a new person, training a new person in 2 years to kind of follow in his footsteps, because as we saw, as soon as Iger left, Chapek kind of just burnt the house to the ground. Was like, all right, Bob Iger, you did this. Well, how there's like 8 divisions? There's 2 now. We consolidated everything. Everybody's this. It's all about money and the dollar and Chapek always would say, well, I'm a parks guy, and the parks and this and the parks blah 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 blah, and it doesn't really show. But Iger has always said that I'm a creative person and I leave everybody else up to their jobs to make it, work. Yeah. And that shows too just how the company had flourished with putting the right people in the right positions and trusting them to do their job, as opposed to what seemed like Chapek was micromanaging every little aspect of everything and installing his people, his faithful people, and the people that Iger had left because they had no confidence in Chapek from the beginning. All these different things. It's just interesting to see what is going to come of this. Like I said, I don't think what we care about most, the parks. I don't think. In a week, we're like, okay, Genie Plus is gone. Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It makes them a ton of money. We reservations seem to be working on a cast member side of things, especially with the amount or the little amount of cast members that are in the parks currently because of all the situations. Who knows if a lot of this stuff is probably not going to change for us, but it can at least lay the groundwork for better changes in the future and stuff like that. 2 years is not a lot of time for people to be able to do a lot of work. He's putting a band-aid on a cannonball wound kind of thing. So it's fix what you can, and who knows, Iger might get the bug again and be like, well, okay, 2 years is up. Maybe another 2 years.
2 years plus.
We'll see at the end of these 2 years what happens. He was real adamant he was leaving before, and he stuck around for a little while longer. So who knows? He might just like his job. Who knows? But it's gonna be a wild ride these next 2 years for sure.
I agree with what you're saying because we've
Uh-huh.
seen him try to retire several times before. But
Uh-huh.
you're absolutely correct. 2 years is not enough time for him to do any of this or even
Yeah.
really train a successor. I think at the end of the 2 years, the board is going to say, we're not ready yet. We want you to stay on for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And then they'll offer him more money, and then he'll be like, ugh, guys, come on. And then he'll stay on
Yes,
for another
y-
3 years.
yeah,
and
exactly.
History
That's-
will repeat
that's-
itself.
My reaction, I want to give a huge shout out to all of the people on the Podketeers Discord and the FGP Squad, especially because, it was almost felt like a safe space to rejoice for me and for you guys. Because, honestly, I was at home. I was just chilling a regular day, and I was kind of doing some work in regards to getting prepared for the week at my real job, my day job. And I had a DM message from a friend that said, hey, a friend that's not even like a Disney, nothing, just knows I love Disney, and said, hey, did you see?
Oh, wow.
He's more of a business guy. Did you see this huge change? And I was like, what? And I flipped my, DM. I opened. I go, no way. And then I jumped into our, group, and I was like, it's real. It's really happening. Like,
Yeah.
this is not like I always hear Heyzen saying, this is not a drill. This is like really happening, right? Is this? And then I saw the 616, and then I saw Brian, Doctor Strange. All the jokes made it more like, it almost felt like a safe space to finally say things that you wanted to say. And that's the full circle reaction to what I'm saying. Like, going to the park, it always felt like it was never safe to talk bad about Bob Chapek. It didn't, because you felt like, I even feel like sometimes, like you guys were just talking about, this is a relevant topic. Bob Chapek felt like he may have been bigger than the board at Disney, it seemed like. Because sometimes of his decisions just didn't really in line with what Disney wanted. But they thought, well, money and revenue is coming in, so we have to go this way. And that's something they have relied on in the past that they have done, right? They don't like to be in the negatives. They like to find the positives when it comes to revenue. And the park was doing that. But we all saw as Disney fans, every time I went to the park, it was like this overhanging thing. Like, we'd talk about, like, it just was like a bad elephant in the room. Like, you're just like, here we go. We're going to talk about, and our jokes that we've seen before. We make fun, of these things, of what he's compared to, like, either bad Star Wars or Marvel characters, right? Because of the way he looks, like Chapek. And that's all fun and games. But the real truth was that we were all sad deep down inside. Like, this didn't feel like the Disney that we knew, kind of in full circle. And when that happened, I felt relief, and it felt good to talk to people and be like, yeah, it's happening. This is unreal, because this usually doesn't happen, especially in the business world, like you guys are talking about. That's why I'm saying it's funny you bring that up, that topic, Melissa. It does happen to CEOs, but never on the scale where it's like, hey, tomorrow morning, it's usually like under wraps. Like the
Yeah.
world doesn't know when they say your papers will be picked up in the morning, and then the huge blow up usually is like something you need to see in a book or in a movie later. That's the telling the story, right? But no, this is like a Disney story coming true in real life. That's the creepy part of it. It's like almost fuel to their fire of what their idea is like. And some people say like that doesn't work for business, and that doesn't, because that's like not how the real world works. But for this moment, it was like it's Disney, so they kind of can bend the rules. It's like this is when they make reality out of a dream, and we all kind of like dreamt someday like bring back Bob Iger, right? And it's not to say he is the savior like you guys are talking about, like he's the know-it-all of all answers, but he's a new hope, to quote a movie that's now belongs to Disney, to what something we know before that has like the same thing of being like a Skywalker. Sorry to reference this whole Star Wars thing, but it's like we know there's still that same line of coming back of something that's we know that's familiar, that they at least have the knowledge and the Jedi will to get through what's up ahead of them. So yeah, once again, shout out to the Discord group and shout out to the FGP Squad for voicing off on there and us like really having a fun space to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, over the course of Bob Chapek's tenure as a CEO, there was a lot of comparisons to Thanos and, all these villains. There was jokes about him, only being in his position 999 days, and apparently there wasn't room for one more. And
Well, that happened. That was true. That was
so
true one.
It's
I mean,
creepy.
but there's still jokes,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But yeah, the talks of executives going behind his back and seeing the writing on the wall as far as where the Disney company was going. If you remember, mid last year, there was a rumor that Bob Iger was coming back to the Disney company. And he had to publicly state, yeah, you know what, that's not going to happen. I'm done with the Disney company. I don't see myself going back, which makes this a surprising turn of events, especially like you're all saying, because of the way that it happened. Now, has there been fairly public firings in the past? I think it's a couple of things. One, we didn't have social media or news spreading in the past the way that it does now. So I think that's part of the reason why we haven't really heard of things like that happening. I can remember several firings of CEOs that turned out different, like during their second coming, like it just turned out to be amazing, which I don't think is going to be the case here. Steve Jobs is the primary example of this, right? Steve Jobs got fired from Apple, and then he went off, did something totally different, did Next, and then came back to Apple, and Apple blew up and became the company that it is today because Steve came back to Apple. That was a very public firing that turned out much different. This is a public firing that I don't think is going to turn out like this or like that. I am having trouble seeing where Bob Chapek goes after this, because being fired or leaving a company like Disney, what kind of trust can any other board or company have in you when the person that you succeeded has to come back to clean up your mess sort of situation, right? So as soon as Bob Iger came back, he started making changes almost immediately. Cast members got an email. As a matter of fact, I have the email text here. It says, "Dear fellow employees and cast members, it is with an incredible sense of gratitude and humility, and I must admit a bit of amazement, that I write to you this evening with the news that I am returning to the Walt Disney Company as Chief Executive Officer. When I look at the creative success of our teams across our studios, Disney General Entertainment, ESPN, and International, the rapid growth of our streaming services, the phenomenal reimagining and rebound of our parks, the continued great work of ABC News, and so many other achievements across our businesses, I am in awe of your accomplishments and am excited to embark with you on many new endeavors. I know this company has asked so much of you during the past 3 years, and these times certainly remain quite challenging. But as you have heard me say before, I am an optimist, and if I have learned one thing from my years at Disney, it is that even in the face of uncertainty, perhaps especially in the face of uncertainty, our employees and cast members achieve the impossible. You will be hearing more from me and our leaders tomorrow and in the weeks ahead. In the meantime, allow me to express my deep gratitude for all that you do. Disney holds a special place in our hearts of people around the globe thanks to you and your dedication to this company and its mission to bring joy to people through great storytelling is an inspiration to me every single day. Signed, Bob Iger. That's a huge shift in messaging, not just to cast members, but how guests are seen around the world compared to some of the comments that we've heard from Bob Chapek over the last several months. I don't know about you, but when I first read Bob Iger's email to cast members, which leaked really quickly, by the way, as soon as people were getting it, they were posting it all over the internet because of how happy they were. I felt valued as a guest all of a sudden, right? And it's been difficult for me to go back to the parks for a few different reasons, health aside. But it felt like as a guest you were valued again, which didn't feel like was the case over the last couple of years. Even
There's
former
compassion.
Imagineers, yeah, exactly. Well-known Imagineers were posting how happy they were. One of which posted on Twitter, "I don't cry about why I'm not at WDI anymore because I did feel it was time to leave. But that guy never even took 30 seconds to stop in and introduce himself, let alone learn my history or what I accomplished, something all the other park leaders and CEOs made it a point to do." And that goes back to the fact that he wasn't a creative person. A lot of people considered him a bean counter. That was the phrase he hated to hear from people. And that's why he made a lot of money. He made a lot of money for the board because he's got that business mindset. Going back to Andrew's comment about 2 years not being enough time, I honestly think that, one, Bob Iger will not find a replacement in 2 years. And given the fact that Bob Chapek came from the parks, came from home media, the idea of Josh D'Amaro now taking over doesn't seem very appealing because he's also a parks guy. You need someone that has that business mindset. And Bob Iger has this duality to him where he's very creative and he's very business. He's got a very good mind for business as well. If you read his book, The Ride of a Lifetime, great read, by the way. He talks a lot about the mistakes that he made running the company. He talks a lot about how he learned, and got to where he was today. And I have to admit that I've talked a lot about how Bob Iger, on the business side and running the company, I admire Bob Iger a lot for what he did, all the acquisitions and stuff that he brought into the park. But in no means was he perfect. He made a lot of mistakes and a lot of public mistakes that I look back on thinking, seriously, this is what we're getting from you? And I'm going to say something right now that I think is not going to be very popular. But I do feel that a lot of what Bob Chapek dealt with has to do with what Bob Iger left him with. Not including the pandemic. I think the pandemic made it 200 times more difficult for Chapek to run the company. But when Bob Iger left, the acquisition of Fox was one of the biggest hits that the Disney company took financially. They hadn't recovered yet when Bob Iger left, and they had to make that money somehow. With the option to buy Hulu in 2024 in order to possibly expand Disney Plus and the libraries that they have, I'm sure that they want to exercise this. We talked about this last week, how Disney Plus has to buy Hulu, right? They have to expand Disney Plus. They have to bring in more content for it to be a service that people want. And all of that money that they owed had to come from somewhere. And so you raise prices, you make more money, and you try to pay off this debt so that you can go in debt again or have enough money in the bank to buy Hulu in 2 years when it comes around for purchase. There's a lot of little things that, truth be told, I think that there's a lot of things where Bob Chapek, I feel, was dealt a really bad hand. And he did the best to play with that hand as long as he could. Now, because of the position that the company's in, because of his mindset, all he was trying to do was make money for the company. Like when he first came on, I think we also made the comment, Bob Iger's a tough act to follow. You know, with all the acquisitions, where do you want your legacy to be as the next CEO of the Disney company? Bob Chapek was trying to do that. He was possibly trying to be the guy that got them out of debt and still made them money and still made the park successful. But when your mindset is 100% let's make money and you lose the creative aspect that the Disney company was built on, we are where we are. You know, and the Disney company made a decision. You know, and I think it's a surprise to many, not just because it's Disney, but I think, not to make this a political talk or anything, but I think because there's been a lot of things in the last 2 or 3 years that seemingly have gone on without consequences. This is a consequence, you know, and it stunned a lot of people. As we look forward, you know, to where the parks are going, I agree with you, Andrew. I don't think they're going to get rid of Genie Plus or anything like that. I think, if anything, they're going to find a way to level it out for people to make it feel like you're gaining more for what you're paying, and add experiences back and clean up the parks a little bit and make everything at least feel closer to everything that we remember. But there's so many things put in place that really do make the company so much money that I don't think they're just going to get rid of them. And I think the first thing people are going to want to see is the removal of the reservation system. I think that's the first thing people are going to call for. If I could forecast where they're going with that, I think it's here to stay, man. I don't think they're going to get rid of the reservation system.
At least for the, you know, the foreseeable future, for sure. It's not going anywhere. Would I like to see it go? Yeah.
Yeah.
But do I think it's? Yeah. No. I think it's. From talking to the few cast members I talked to about it, they seem to at least like that because they know how many people to expect on a given day.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. It sucks for people going sometimes, but that's you know, on the back end it's better for them.
Which, by the way, is why it's so confusing that they can't properly staff the park if they know exactly how many people are going that day. You know, the fact that you don't have enough cast members.
Pinching.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So
it's, well, we know there's 40,000 people coming, so, well, these things don't have to have this many people. But then there seems to be like extra cast members in random places, but then other things are closed. It just makes no sense. But you know, this is also like an anomaly when it comes to like company, like Disney. As a company is completely backwards from like any other company that exists. Like there are Apple fans and there are whatever, you know, Target fans. I don't know. There's other companies that have their fans, but there's not this base, these hardcore people that are including us that know who the CEO of said company is at any given time and the corporate structure and who is the president of a department of a company and care about how those things go other than money. Like if you know who the CEO of I don't know, of like GMC is or GM, you don't care, you know, what they're doing other than if they're making the company money. That's the only reason you know the CEO is because those companies are built to make money. And, you know, Heyzen brings it up a lot and we talk about it a lot that Disney is a company and needs to make money. But Disney has a history of being a company that is willing to spend money to make a good product and then get that back in another way. There are, I don't know if there's any podcasts about Target, but there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts about Disney, like, and different aspects of it. And so it's just it's a completely different beast. And, you know, Chapek seemed to be trying to run Disney like any other, you know, Fortune 500 company that is answering to it. It's purely the stockholders and et cetera, and that did not work out for him because it's just a completely different thing. And then another thing I noticed that was interesting is Bob Iger is not coming back as, when he left, he was president of the board and CEO. And he's only coming back as CEO now. He's not, the president of the board is going to stay. Whoever that lady is, I don't remember her name, but some lady. She's the president of the board. So yeah, I'm a bad fan. I don't know all the board of directors of Disney, but it's okay. It's not terribly important. But she's staying. Bob Iger's doing his deal, and everybody brought up such great points that it's going to be interesting to see. I say that a lot when I want to end a sentence. I guess it's going to be interesting to see. But
it works.
Yeah, it does work.
Yeah.
But Chapek, I don't feel bad for him. He's leaving the company and he's getting, $20+ million when he leaves. He's set for life.
He's getting bought out. Yeah.
If I had $20 million, I could do whatever I wanted for the rest of my life and have more money than I could ever think of.
Word.
He did his thing and got a bunch of money, and that's not what people in those positions, that's not what their mental state is thinking about what this 20 million is, but what about all those other millions I could have? Whereas like a lay person like one of us could be like, that's a lot of money.
You know what I think Bob Chapek's next step is going to be? I don't see him going to, I could be absolutely wrong, right? There could be a company out there that sees the value in what he offers from a financial standpoint, and that might be why they hire him on. But I almost see Bob Chapek going into a role of being like an angel investor and just investing in new technology, new companies, and using that money to build more money, which is what he was trying to do with Disney, right? That's where the looping money would come from, and the whole talk of a company within a company. That's kind of what I see as the next step for him at this point. But, I could be wrong. I'm curious to see how much more changes within the company. I'm curious to see what happens with Josh D'Amaro, because, a lot of people seemingly like him. There was reports for a long time that he was kind of at odds with Chapek a lot when it came to pushing back on things he wanted in the parks, and Chapek would possibly say no, or I don't know what the case was there. But there were reports of that happening. And I feel like Bob Iger and Josh D'Amaro always had a really great relationship. So I'm curious to see where that goes. Going back to this 2 years is not enough thing, 3 years, maybe extensions or whatever with Bob Iger. There was a financial analyst for Deutsche Bank that said something very similar to what Andrew said. But the one quote that sticks out from what that analyst said is that there just aren't any other Bob Igers out there. Perhaps this time they'll start with a creative leader and try to develop the rest of this individual skills over the next 2 years.
That's a problem.
And it got me thinking that maybe the next leader of the Disney company isn't the next Bob Iger. Maybe what the Disney company needs is the next Michael Eisner and Frank Wells. Maybe what the Disney company needs is a parallel of two people where one is the absolute creative brains and you have the second one that reels it back to reality and says, hey, we should think about this financially. Because isn't that where the roots of the company are? It's
That's
a direct
Walton Roy
parallel
thing
to
right
Walton
there.
Roy thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it.
When you think of the Disney decade, Michael Eisner gets a lot of flack for that. But, in reality, if you read the Disney War and you read a lot about, what happened during Michael Eisner's tenure, he did so many good things for the company. Some of them didn't work out so great. But in general, until Frank passed away, and even after Frank passed away, Michael Eisner still did some great things for the company. But the duo of both of them running, I think, is what the Disney company needs next.
Oh, yeah. And you're not alone on that, too. I actually had a friend who just told me the exact same thing. So we shall see.
Yeah, and that's the Eisner thing is he gets a lot of flack for, the parks and stuff. But just think about if they had a different person, all these parks probably wouldn't have existed. like California Adventure and Disneyland Paris and Hong Kong Disneyland. Like all these places, started out kind of poor and poor recepted and all this stuff, but look at them now. It's a thing where he laid the groundwork, and hey, the budgets weren't there, but hey, there's another park there, and then somebody was able to come along and kind of fix it, and didn't start out great, but it was something. We were given a new thing, and here's a thing, and you can go to it, and then stuff happens, and if we get these duo leaders again, it's great. Just don't let any of them get on a helicopter or whatever. Like that might be a little blue to say, but we want to keep these people in good shape and making good decisions for both the company and the fans, because they're kind of one and the same. I don't know if this is a true fact or not, or just something I heard, but like Disney is like the largest, like they have the most like stockholders, like because there's so many people that have just a single stock or whatever, or gifted stock, single stock. I have one. Like there's a lot of people that have one stock because it was, it's a cool thing and da 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 da. But there are so many more stockholders for Disney than there are these other companies. And granted, they don't have a majority or anything like that, all the individuals like me, but it's still something that people care enough about that they're going to put their money in to even just a little bit, because they believe in what the company stands for, or what it used to stand for at the time that they bought the thing, the content they generate, and the feeling that they give you, when you consume their product, whether it be the parks or the films or what have you, the video games and everything that they're a multimedia company. There's all kinds of things out there, so it's going to be my favorite word, an interesting thing to see when these successor or successors are picked, how long Iger is actually going to be there. Probably another 5 years. Probably a minimum 5 years he's there. He says 2. We don't believe him. So
2 plus.
2 plus 2 plus 1. That's 5.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we'll get more information coming from the Disney company in the coming weeks. I'm sure that once January rolls around, we're going to start to really hear a lot about the restructuring. The restructuring already began. We've already seen that Bob Chapek's right-hand man, Kareem Daniel, was let go from the Disney company. Who knows what's next? And I'm sure that changes might come to the parks and everything, but I'm pretty sure that with the focus that the company has on making digital media successful, I'm sure that the majority of what Bob Iger is going to do is going to try to get Disney Plus back on track, whether it's through the acquisition and merger of Hulu or other properties, again, getting into a little more debt to try to make some more money, like you said earlier, Andrew. But I really do think that his primary focus is going to be restructuring, like he said, going and giving the freedom back to the creatives, to do what they need to do, because that puts the responsibility back in their hands, right? It isn't just we failed as a company. You have direct sections that you can go back to and not blame anybody else for the success or, failure of whatever happens. But as far as Disney Plus is concerned, I want to offer this suggestion. So, Bobby, welcome back, my dude. I'm glad that you're back. Send me a text if you want to grab a drink or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll do a Zoom or something. We'll invite you to the next FGP happy hour. You can hang out, tell us what your plans are.
Jackbox games.
Yeah, play some Jackbox games. You'll love it.
Honorary FGP member Bob
Iger. Yep, Bobby. For Disney Plus, this is what I would like to see, okay? Since the primary focus is going to be on Disney Plus, if they take the option to acquire Hulu completely from Comcast, I would like to see them build one app. Not 3 apps, not 3 services, one app, because now you're cutting overhead for managing 3 different products. You make one app and you make it a la carte. Does that kind of suck? Yes, to some people, but I think you can find a way to fairly price each of the services and get a discount if you get 2 or 3 of them. Almost like a cable package was before. I know that seems counterintuitive, but if the app, depending on what you're paying, has 3 options at the top or something like Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN, you choose the one that you want to go to, and then you get the content underneath it. Okay? Revamp the app, because let's be honest, the app has a lot of problems. It's not as intuitive as a lot of other streaming service apps that are out there, so Disney Plus as an app needs some work.
Hulu's good.
Yeah.
Good app. Just use Hulu's app.
Yeah,
and
move
just
everything to the
put it-
Hulu
make it
app.
blue.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
So consolidate, make it 3, and then
Make it pink.
It'll be so much easier. It'll be easier to navigate. It'll be much more enjoyable. Give us the option to go back to shows and rewind and look through the seasons without having to do a search for the show. That'd be great.
Yeah. How about say the runtime of the movie without the credits, because the credits are about 45 minutes long. That Grogu like Miyazaki thing or whatever that was like 2 minutes said it was like 8 minutes long, but it was 6 minutes of credits.
Right?
Like, what are we doing here?
Any additional comments, any thoughts or anything before we wrap this talk up?
Real quickly, I'm going to touch back to what Larry's been saying. It feels like there's the balance in the force is just beginning. There.
Nice.
Just to call back to what we were talking about earlier, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about currently. So I looked up the release dates for when stuff came out versus Disney Plus. So we do this really quick. So it looks like the window has been getting shorter as the year progressed. So Shang-Chi came out September 3rd on Disney Plus, November 12th. Jungle Cruise, July 30th, also November 12th. Let's see. Eternals, November 5th to January 12th. Encanto, November 24th, came out December 24th. So that's 1 month. Doctor Strange, Thor, Love and Thunder, and Lightyear were all a month or less from when they were in theaters to when they were in
That's crazy.
Disney Plus. So yeah, it's Doctor Strange was the longest one, and then it got shorter. And then there's the anomaly of Turning Red, which was in theaters for 10 days before it went to Disney.
That's
So
crazy.
there's-
10 days is
Yeah.
just bonkers, dude.
Yeah. So that was just, I did the Googling while we were talking and I found that. So I guess we'll come back to whenever we get an announcement for Strange World and Black Panther on Disney Plus, and we'll see how that turns out when we find out the dates.
At least official
But
announcements,
that's how we
right?
get it. Yeah, official announcements. But Disney says that's coming. So anyway, that was my long-winded thing at the end because I did it. I did the work.
Well, thank you for
but
searching
I would have
for
forgot
that.
about it next week.
Yeah.
Also, happy Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll end of that.
Turkey
Thanksgiving
Day.
is tomorrow
That's a good one.
when this comes out.
Yes.
Oh, thankful for all of the listeners. Happy Thanksgiving.
Right on, man.
Yes.
Also, watch
Definitely.
Larry's YouTube channel. Like
Yep.
Larry goes on YouTube and like goes around Disneyland and just live streams and stuff. Go watch Larry's thing. What's it called, Larry?
It's
Second.
Goofy Guys Adventures on YouTube, and yeah, I've been having fun doing the live stream now at the park. Like I said, it's either Wednesday or Thursdays. I'm there going live in the evening, and then Saturdays it's throughout the day. Some Saturdays I stay pretty late, and some Saturdays I'll wrap it up. It just depends on how much battery I can pull out with my data. But yeah, it's been interesting, and it's fun to catch things as they're coming through the park, and sometimes I get to interview just regular guests at the park that just want to be on the live stream. So that's always a cool thing to see fans through their eyes at the park. So yeah, I encourage you guys to join. All of you guys in the FGP, all of you guys in the Discord. We'd love to have you in the Goofy Guys Adventures channel. Come by.
I've been
Right
popping
on.
in. I've been watching Larry's thing. I've been commenting and giving, button in. Larry will go on rides and not talk because he's not a nice guy and is like, I'm not going to talk while I'm on the ride. So then I'll start typing like, did you know that?
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah.
People love it. Andrew's facts, because it's like some of these people, we get people that are like old APs or old cast members, and they're like, yeah, they just feed off of it because maybe they didn't know so much or they found a new fact about Disney or the ride. Andrew's got Quizneyland, and I always try to incorporate that too, to say like, there's a lot of things that we don't necessarily think about, and that's what the great thing about having you guys that listen join another group that we have there, that you guys can inspire those Disney fans and have great conversations.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, man. That's a great place to end it. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone that celebrates.
Gobble gobble.
If you don't celebrate and it's just a day where you're just going to order some Grubhub, then awesome. Have a happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Yeah.
Pizza's
food.
good.
Yeah,
good.
International people. They don't, not everybody has Thanksgiving in their country.
Yeah.
Happy,
Pizza's good.
happy
Some people
Thursday.
celebrate Friendsgiving. Some people celebrate different churro days. I mean, take your pick. Whatever you want to do.
T-Mobile Tuesday.
Whatever makes you happy.
I like to refer to my Tuesdays as the taco kind.
Oh,
but
not,
it's
Yes.
cool.
not T-Mobile Tuesday.
All right, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. If you've been hanging on for this long, we appreciate you hanging on. We know that it was a pretty long episode, but we hope you had fun. We hope you learned something, like you do on Quizneyland every couple of weeks. And if you have any comments on anything that we talked about, make sure to join us over on Discord. Leave a comment over on Instagram. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your comments on just where you think the Disney company's going. Tell us where you were when you heard the news. I think that would be an interesting thing. Like, if people are going to remember this as like the day this happened, tell us where you were when you first heard.
Yeah,
the
were you
news. I
watching
think that
Elton
would be
John
fun.
live at Dodger Stadium and you
Yeah.
heard about it?
But let's
Interesting.
keep it PG, maybe PG-13. but,
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so that's it. That's gonna wrap it up. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep moving forward, and always remember to pass on the magic. Have a fantastic week, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Copyrights right.
Part of the Podketeers Network.